one day line up 100 second graders on risers over at Miller School, and she looks like a sweet little easygoing lady, but she can be tough on second graders. So she got them all lined up eventually, and I was really impressed. In addition to teaching, Meghan has a photography business. She also enjoys playing music with her husband on any downtime they have. And Jairus, she was pretty impressed with your piano playing.
I think so.
Okay, Meghan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Jim. So, as you said, I am Meghan Gobrogge. I teach at Thomas Miller Elementary School, and in my presentation today, my goal is that you all will get a sense of how important elementary music education is to today's kids. So, starting off, I'm going to start off with a quote. I love quotes. They're probably my favorite thing to add to any presentation. So my quote is from Plato, and it says this: "I would teach children music, physics, and philosophy, but most importantly music, because the patterns in music and all of the arts are the keys to learning." So I start with that to basically express to you that even in 470 BC, they were talking about how important music education is in a child's life. And so I feel like that's a very profound statement. To start off, music education, especially in the elementary setting, it can do many things for kids. It can boost their GPAs, their focus, their confidence, their reading skills, cognition, attendance, and so many other areas in their life. The sad truth is that schools are choosing to ignore the facts and take away music education from their schools, especially in the elementary setting. So today, like I said, I want to just express to you the importance of it and to educate you on how awesome music can be for our kids. So this is a picture of my bulletin board outside my music classroom. Each letter of music corresponds to a different general education subject. And one of the reasons music is so important for our young students is because it not only encompasses music standards, but it can also incorporate general education standards as well. So students who may not understand that general education concept in their classroom can sometimes come into my classroom and automatically understand it by learning it in a different way, in a different atmosphere. So I'm going to talk about that for just a little bit. M is for math. So our notes in music have different values. A quarter note gets 1 beat, an eighth note gets half a beat, so on and so forth. So students can learn to add, subtract, and divide based on those values in my classroom, and also they have to think cognitively and say, okay, so if I add these two notes together, I can come up with 3, or if I add these notes together, I can make 14. So it makes them think through that. As you can see, I have an example of one of the worksheets that we use throughout the year. It's a subtraction worksheet, so the kids have to figure out how many beats does this note get, and then they have to practice their subtraction. So like I said, if a child's having a really hard time with subtraction in their classroom, they can come into mine and get extra practice on that, as well as learning the musical concepts. And this is also for math. It's fractions, so students can practice their fractions in math classes or in music class as well. So as you can see at the top, we have a whole note, and you break it up, and you break every single note up until you get down to 16th notes down at the bottom. And so students can kind of learn fractions through the division of our notes as well. So that's how we can help for math. The letter U in music is part of the word language. My students learn at least one song a year, if not many, that teach them a different language. For an example, this year my first graders, at the beginning of the year, they learned a song in French. And they did so well with that I gave them a Spanish song that they actually performed last week in their program. So they are performing in Spanish, which is a very big deal for first graders, I think. My fourth graders learned a song in Hebrew with a circle game that we did. So the students are not only learning how to sing in a different language, they're learning about the culture as well. We talk about how kids their age in different cultures, how they dress, how their day goes, what's different about their day, what's different about their schooling than how it is here. So they're learning about that culture, and they're making connections around the world. In addition to learning in the classroom, it goes hand in hand with speech therapy as well. Students who are having kind of trouble with their speech early on, music can really help that just help that with them. There's a really awesome story I love. this is a boy. His name is Demetrio. And Kayla is the lady in the picture as well. Demetrio's story is very impressive. He was diagnosed with autism, and he couldn't speak a word at 4 years old. And at 4 years old, if you were Demetrio's mother, you'd probably be really concerned because he's 4 years old, he needs to be able to speak. And so she took him to a music therapy establishment, and Kayla worked with him an hour a week. After a year of this music therapy, Demetrio came out of that with 50 words that he was speaking in 1 year, from 0 to 50 words. And that is so profound. Even though Demetrio was not in an elementary public school setting, it was the music that brought that upon. It was the music that helped him make leaps and bounds into becoming verbal. So this happens many times, all over the country with children in need of speech therapy. Singing and playing instruments sometimes opens that in a child, and it unlocks that not a whole lot of other subjects can. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The S is in the word history. Along with learning different language and culture, they also learn the importance of the song they are singing. So we go through the who, what, where, when, and whys, as you can see. Where was the song written? Who wrote the song? Why was it written? We go through all of that, especially with historical songs, especially patriotic songs. An example of that, at the beginning of the year, every year, my third graders learn the Star-Spangled Banner. And so they usually perform it at some time throughout the year for the school. And everyone knows that, yep, I'm going to learn the Star-Spangled Banner when I get to third grade at the beginning. So we talk about that, the story. If you don't know the story, Francis Scott Key, who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, woke up one morning after a night battling for our freedom, and as the sun was coming up over the horizon, he saw our American flag standing tall and waving proudly. So even though we talk about how in battle, these guys probably lost some of their friends, they probably had a really hard night, but they woke up and saw the American flag going still proud, and that's how Francis Scott Key got the inspiration to write the Star-Spangled Banner. So learning all of that about how songs are written, that really inspires them to sing it in a different way and to really feel that emotional connection to the music as well. So that's for history, and it also deepens their understanding of our culture. So the I is in reading. I not only have my third and fourth graders reading music on his staff, but my kindergartners, they practice reading as well. They practice kindergarten words through the school year, like their sight words, and they also practice simple rhythm reading. So my kindergartners, they actually, just last week in their program, they performed first grade spelling words in their program. They're kindergartners. Some of these kindergartners are not at benchmark level for their kindergarten age. Yet, I put first grade words into a song that they had to spell out, and they could do it because we put it through a song. And so that was really profound because students who, like I said, are on that lower benchmark level, they're not making the grades that they need. You put something to music and automatically they get it. And so that was really awesome, and that happened last week with my kindergartners. Students learn through reading music how to do multiple things at once as well. So they're singing, they're reading, they're moving around to music. They have to multitask a lot, and that's very important for their work ethic and their focus. So on the board here, I have a kindergarten example. This is an example of simple rhythms that they're reading. They're reading quarter notes and eighth notes in kindergarten. And then this is a fourth grade example, not of recorder music, but of reading, just simple rhythms. And they usually read kind of more complex and line after line after line. So the fourth grade, as you can see from kindergarten to fourth grade, they start to learn extremely complex rhythms as they get older. So they're doing a lot of things at once. C is for the word science. And in second grade, this year is really fun for second grade, we learned how music in many forms and instruments can make different sounds. So we talked about how a big instrument makes a lower sound and a smaller instrument makes a higher sound based on the amount of space in the instrument. So we even made our own instruments this year, and we shared them with the class. We made guitars and we made shakers, and we compared them. All right, so this guitar sounds lower because it has bigger space inside of it. This guitar, you get the idea. So we had a good time with that in second grade. So they're learning all about the concept of space in science. And so like I have on the board, We talked about how a tuba, it makes a lower sound. Why? Because it's bigger than a flute. So that is our science. And as you can see, music is just a diverse subject. It covers so many things, and it's the only subject area that is flexible enough to span over multiple general education courses and encompass all of them in some way, shape, or form. Dr. Charles Aloit, who is a former Harvard president, once said this statement. He said, "Music rightly is the best mind trainer." A great example of this would be the ABC song. I'm sure that many of you learned your ABCs when you were little through the song and probably still remember it today. And I know that I do. And so it's easy to remember things like that if you just put it to a song. Like I said earlier, my kindergarten students, they're spelling words that they probably would not have ever learned to spell in kindergarten because we put it to a song. Music education, it helps the brain, in a different way than other subjects does. It kind of releases extra chemicals that in a general education setting might not do that. So they did a 2009 study, and they kind of just interviewed a lot of teachers just to get their opinion on how music is important. And one teacher said this statement, and it's a little long, so I'll try to make it go by a little fast. But she said this: "Music education matters to me because of its broader life applications. By encouraging students to immerse themselves in its complexity, I'm asking them to engage in scholastic subjects such as math, science, history, culture, linguistics, and physical education, among others. More importantly, when those same students immerse themselves in that same complexity, they are hopefully developing self-discipline and problem-solving skills while practicing team-building skills and empathy while rehearsing. They also learn communication skills and self-control while performing. They have the opportunity to sharpen focus and purpose and to enhance self-worth through a very rigorous work ethic." Now, I will tell you, like Mr. Jim said, I push my kids. I push them to be better at everything they do. Just doing the bare minimum is not enough. I push them to go further and further and further. And last week I had a K-2 program. And at the end, the last couple of weeks, they were getting tired of doing the same songs over and over and over again. So I tell them, you guys are a bowl of ice cream right now. You're just a bowl full of ice cream. But you're not a sundae. I want to put the sprinkles on you. I want to put the chocolate on you, and the sprinkles, and the whipped cream, and the cherries to make you that much more delicious. And so after that, they're like, okay, I get it. So we're going to do it. But it works for them. It's a very rigorous work ethic. They have to keep going even though they want to stop. So unfortunately, I have heard many people mistake music education, just for fun, not an essential part of the day, maybe just a break for the teachers. And these are most definitely false statements. Don't get me wrong, if you come into my classroom, you're going to see us having fun. I do a lot of folk songs, a lot of games. You can see us moving around, dancing and laughing and having a good time. But what most people don't realize is that all of the games that I do, we incorporate values. We incorporate work ethic and teamwork and practice, multitasking, and so much more. I mean, not only the students are learning musical concepts, but they're learning how to live with purpose in their lives. They're learning values. So, really quickly, I want to show you this short video. It's a very short video on how music education can help students academically beyond the elementary level. You going to get that for me? Thank you. Oops, go back one. If you just move your mouse over it, it should go. Yep, and then press the play button at the end. There we go. school music students score higher on the SATs than most other non-musical students. College-age musicians are emotionally healthier than their non-musician counterparts. The world's top academic countries place a high value on music education. Hungary, Japan, and the Netherlands stand atop science achievement and have strong commitments to music education at elementary and middle levels for both instrumental and vocal music. The nation's top business executive agreed that arts education programs can help repair weaknesses in American education and better prepare workers for the 21st century. According to statistics from Georgia and Texas, middle school and high school students who participated in instrumental music scored significantly higher than their non-instrumental peers in standardized tests. Music's potential effects on the mind and body include the following: increases muscular energy, increases molecular energy, influences the heartbeat, alters metabolism, reduces pain and stress, relieves fatigue, aids in the release of emotions, stimulates creativity, sensitivity, and thinking. Music helps you think by activating and synchronizing neural firing patterns that connect multiple brain sites. The neural synchrony of ensembles increase both the brain's efficiency and effectiveness. Reading or composing music particularly engages both sides of the brain. Music in the curriculum may be a valuable tool for the integration of thinking across both hemispheres of the brain. Nearly all of the high school student winners of the Siemens Westinghouse competition in math, science, and technology play one or more musical instruments. Music students learn to become sustained, self-directed learners. Good pitch discrimination benefits learning to read by enhancing the second phonemic stage of learning. The relationship to music education is straightforward because such training invariably involves improvement in pitch discrimination. As you can tell by the video, you can reason that music obviously is going to help students in their lives. Academically, they seem to exceed their non-musical peers. Emotionally, students are more stable. Socially, they portray empathy and teamwork skills. Now, I'm not suggesting that music education is going to solve every problem for every child that you come across. And I'm not saying that every music teacher is going to make their classroom conducive to this kind of learning. But I am saying that music education in general has been proven to help more students than not. And so music brings so much positive influence that it's going to change their lives for the better, whether it changes them extraordinarily or by just this much. So a lot of my students that I work with at Miller, they desperately need a positive influence on their life. I work with students living in poverty, foster homes, or between schools and homes. Some of these kids have seen more sorrow in their life than I probably ever will. Some have lost parents or siblings recently. Some are dealing with cancer, taking someone that they love. Some are wondering even when their next meal is going to be. They don't know. I've seen firsthand how some of these little lives are past the school walls, and a lot of times they don't look very good. It's no wonder that some students come into my classroom with aggression, anger, and resentment towards their education. Their minds are obviously focused elsewhere. And this is where music likes to intercede. Some students who deal with these extra things daily are the students who come to life in my room. These students succeed in my room. They have purpose. I have seen students who are shy be really outgoing when they're dancing to a springtime song. I have seen students tear up when learning a song for Veterans Day because they have had family members die fighting for our freedom. I have seen pride on my students' faces after a performance because maybe for the first time in their life, they accomplished a goal and were center stage for all to see. Johnny Depp, famous actor, he quotes, "Music touches us emotionally where words alone can't." And that is so true. Music is a release. It's a release from problems, from burdens, and sometimes from the world. It's a release that the students that I work with sometimes really need. Many students have so much anger and bitterness and aggression that it keeps them from learning. There's an Atlanta psychologist, her name is Sherry Siegel, and I have her quote on the board. She says that music is a great tool in helping children cope with things outside of the school. She says music will calm them down and help them get their aggression out rather than take them out physically, which is very, very important because a lot of students automatically go to the physical aspect of taking out their aggression rather than calming down first. Music probably benefits more kids than not. And that is a powerful statement from a professional in their field. Music benefits more kids than not. Music is very powerful. It's emotional, and it can be healing for some of these kids. And like I said, elementary music education programs today are being cut from a lot of schools around the country, and this trend has continued to kind of build within the last couple of years. I was a little curious and I did some research to try and find some reasons to validate cutting music in the elementary level. And I found a site that had some interesting insights. Aaron Reynolds, he makes 3 points in an article that he has. Point number 1 was music takes a lot of expenses with instruments and with teachers and etc. We could save some money if we cut the program. His point number 2 was that there's a lot of noise distraction with music, and some kids who have trouble focusing, if we took that out of the picture, they'd have a much better time focusing. And his point number 3 said music should be optional. The students who don't care for music won't be forced to learn, and those that do can take private lessons outside of the school. Now, if I'm being honest, music education sometimes does take some money. It also makes a lot of noise. We make a lot of noise, and it sometimes can distract others. Those statements have some validity. However, I don't agree that music should be optional based on everything I've already told you. And sometimes students who are interested in pursuing music, they don't have the income or the transportation to take some private lessons, especially the students that I work with. So here's my response to Aaron Reynolds. Point 1, money is not going to be an issue. There are grants, there are donators, etc. that aid music programs all the time. When I worked in Toledo, Ohio, that was my music education program. I had no funds from the school. Everything was donated. If I needed something, I would ask, and a lot of times, people would be generous. So music, my music program in Toledo was based solely on grants and donations, and it works. Even without those things, singing is free. You can sing with your kids all the time, and it's free. Students can learn music through vocal production and still be positively influenced. Point 2, the music room can be moved to prevent the distraction, or, the music teacher can travel. It's not ideal, but it can work. And point 3, with all the positive outcomes of music education, why would you want it to be optional? Even if music doesn't help all the children, it's still a positive influence in many, many ways. And I feel like our students deserve the best possible education that they can get. You never know who you're going to be teaching. I could be teaching a future doctors. I could be teaching a future president. You don't know what these kids are going to do with their lives, but I feel like it's our job as teachers to give them the tools that they need to make that difference in the world. So I'm going to be concluding. Elementary music education is so important for our students because of all we've discussed today. It embodies all the general education subjects and allows for students to express themselves in many ways, artistically, socially, emotionally, academically. And music soothes, controls, alleviates unwanted behaviors, and can help children exceed beyond expectations. I hope you learned a lot today, and I thank you for allowing me to come speak to you about what I'm so passionate about. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is another quote by John Bryan. He's the CEO of the Sara Lee Corporation, and this is what he says. "The arts are an important component of education. Music reaches us and teaches us in ways that can enlighten and inspire for a lifetime. Some people may see music as entertainment, not relevant to the problems of the day, but music is very important in giving a sense of direction and purpose to the youth of our society." Thank you so much.
Amen.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm so proud to be a volunteer at Miller School. Holy wow. I have seen you in action, and your passion for your trade is remarkable. Thank you so much for being here today. And we have a little gift for you. If you're ever composing music some night and the power goes off, there you have a light to light the way for you. Okay? Thank you. Gail?